This is sick. I mean, this is awesome. Watching this sweaty loser have a pathetic meltdown. Oh my God. Oh, delicious, dude. This is incredible. He's so close to saying slurs. Yes. Oh my God. I mean, you know, he said it after this interview. Trump is definitely not going to do another debate. He got clobbered, dude. He got dookied on. And honestly, just like Joe Biden, actually, he kind of did it to himself. Like, Kamala Harris steered the ship in that direction. She did a pretty good job. I'll just say it like this, okay? Kamala Harris did a really good job baiting Donald Trump, but Donald Trump did not have to eat the bait. He could have like presented himself as normal, but he didn't. He failed to do so in a spectacular fashion. What a disastrous performance by Donald Trump. This was not as bad as like Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, because that was unique in the sense that like Joe Biden literally had to drop out of the campaign. But Donald Trump basically did as bad of a debate as you can have historically without it being like the worst debate of all time. Because Joe Biden's debate performance was the worst debate performance of all time, bar none, historical. It will never happen again, most likely. And Donald Trump's debate performance was up there. Okay. It was close. Like, that's how bad it was. Okay. That is how bad that was. Part of the reason was because ABC actually had moderators that wanted to do their real jobs. And here's the reality. If you don't want to moderate it and fact checked in the midst of a debate, don't openly lie about some of the most insane, like easily dismissible talking points because you just chose to be a psycho because you're used to nobody in the mainstream media ever actually holding you to account in real time because they're too to do anything. David Muir, my goat, he was not too cowardly to do so. Sexy ass David Muir, okay? He was looking hot as dude, looking like a 1940s anchor, looking sexy as. He was like, no, dog, that's not real. Haitians are not eating cats, dude. Sorry, Mr. President. Hate to break it to you, but we did some goddamn research. We're journalists after all. If you want to know without a shred of doubt that Kamala Harris clobbered last night, like absolutely eviscerated Donald Trump last night, made a fool of him, look to what the Republicans are saying. Because if that debate was, a banger for Trump, they'd be doing victory laps right now. Instead, they started crying about the moderators while the debate was going on. They haven't stopped crying about the moderators. And on top of that, Trump immediately went to the spin room and started chirping about Twitter polls. They're crying about the mods. And on top of that, they're immediately locked in on conspiracies like, oh, she had a earpiece in her ear. Like they're looking for reasons as to why she actually did so good. That's how you know Donald Trump got gutted, okay? Trump went on Fox News to lick his wounds and complain about, let's watch him cope and cry on Fox News.
President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris squaring off on the debate stage last night, meeting face-to-face for the very first time. It was a heated debate, less than 2 months until Election Day.
Joining us right now on the phone to react after that very busy night, the 45th President of the United States, to the GOP presidential nominee, Donald Trump. Mr. President, how do you feel about the night? 105 minutes long. You've done this before. I think it's your 8th one. What is your review of your performance?
Well, I looked at the poll numbers. I listened to Harold Ford. I don't know what he was watching because I think he wasn't watching the debate that I was in yesterday. I think we did great. It was 3-1. It was a rigged deal, as I assumed it would be, because when you looked at the fact that they were correcting everything and not correcting with her, and we knew it when it was 100% good coverage for her over the last month or last year. I looked at it, and only bad coverage of me, no matter what. The press is so dishonest in this country, it's amazing. Now, I didn't mind because, frankly, I knew I was pretty sure that's what they would do. CNN was much more honorable. The debate we had with Biden was a much more honorably run debate. But this was incredible. I mean, everything, so many things I said were debunked, totally debunked, like Charlottesville. I have a list of 7 different things. And she could say anything she wanted, everything. Every time I spoke, and my stuff was right, they'd correct you. I thought it was terrible from the standpoint of ABC. They're the most dishonest, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's crying about the referees, which is when you know you lost, even if you claim that you didn't. Because if he had won, he'd be like, oh, it was great. You know, shouts out to ABC. They did a great job. You know, it's just very obvious that you didn't do a good job and you recognize it. And now you're trying to portray yourself as actually doing fine. Yeah. And the reason why he's praising CNN is because they didn't do any moderation and they didn't do any fact checking. I personally am a fan of fact checking. They should fact check Kamala Harris as well. If she goes off the hinges in the same way, they should have fact checked Kamala Harris when she was like, oh, mass were happening on October 7th, for example. Of course, they would never do that. Let's be real, right? But in terms of like the one aspect of this conversation, where she could have gotten fact checked is when she said the bloodbath line. Okay, that's it. That's the only time where Trump has been like kind of taken out of context. That's it. They're not going to do a mass fact check. Don't be ridiculous. And also, ABC only fact checked Donald Trump when he went crazy. Okay, there weren't any on October 7. As it stands, this does not meet the standard of genuine reporting. Investigations have been conducted. There is one primary witness, and that wasn't even on October 7. There's one primary witness that is a victim of sex, and it happened under captivity. The New York Times' own reporting on Screams Without Words does not meet the same standards that the New York Times has in terms of reporting. Supposedly, the Charlottesville, both sides are fine, taken out of context. No, it's not. One side were neo-Nazis. He tries to claim that, like, when he said there are very fine people on both sides, that actually he meant, like, you know, the peaceful protesters on either side. It's like, yeah, dude, the peaceful protesters on one side were Nazis. No, they were not very fine people. That's not a contested point. The only point that is contested that Kamala Harris used in terms of like her line of attack against Donald Trump that they didn't like fact check or kind of let her get away with was when she said, you said it was going to be a bloodbath. That's the only thing that she said that actually was taken out of context. Donald Trump was obviously using embellished language, but he wasn't talking about like actual violence. He was talking about how the economy is going to be destroyed. Like, that's it. And even then, that still tracks with everything else that he said that is incredibly violent. In terms of like the moderation being unfair or the debate was absolutely rigged against Donald Trump, you're delusional, dog. The debate would obviously not be unfair if Donald Trump wasn't regularly lying. What kind of pathetic baboon bull is where it's like, no, you don't understand. You don't understand. I want the debate to not be fact checked. Like, okay, I want my candidate to lie to me. Okay. That's all you're saying in this situation. The debate was 100% rigged against Trump. It was like 3v1 with ABC totally siding with the other candidates. They kept coming at him and the moderators didn't even try to hide their bias. But honestly, Trump still held his ground and came out on top. They thought they could gang up on him, but he handled it like a true gentleman. You might be too far gone. You know, you might be too far gone for us to be having a normal conversation with you. If you looked at last night's performance, that even Republicans were like, yeah, it sucked. Even Donald Trump himself technically recognizes that it sucked. That's why he's crying about the mods here, okay, on Fox News. You're out of your dang mind. If you think Kamala won that debate, you're just being biased and not paying attention. Let's be real. She didn't have anything solid, and the media was practically cheering her on. Anyone saying she won is either not seeing the clear picture or just being dumb about it. I know, man. Yeah. Is this what Republicans think we sound like? Like, I say this as someone who is incredibly critical of Kamala Harris to a degree where liberals get outright mad at me. They get ass mad. They get super pained. Anytime I talk about Kamala Harris, they're like, wow, God forbid you say anything mean about my perfect presidential candidate. Okay. Trump never accepted he lost the debate. You are faking it. Yeah, dude. Look at Donald Trump's conversations after the CNN debate where he comstered and dumpstered Joe Biden, who failed on his own, really, but still, versus the way he's talking about this debate, you dingus. God, you people are so stupid, man. There is no way I can reason with you. You are delusional. You are living in an alternative reality, dude. You can't see the right in front of your eyes. Yeah, oh, Donald Trump didn't accept he lost. Yeah, obviously he's not going to be like, yeah, I lost, dumbass. Would he say that? That's why you have to look at what he said after CNN, where he objectively destroyed Joe Biden so hard that he had to drop out, okay, versus this debate, crying about the mods, saying like, I saw a Twitter poll 20 minutes after the debate that said I won, so I guess I won. Like, you're delusional. Yeah, that's a good point too. Trump won't even accept he lost the election. Bro, if you think that laughing at his points is winning, sure, buddy. His points are made up. No matter how hard you try to believe in your little peanut brain that Haitian migrants are eating cats and dogs, it's not real. It's made up, okay? Sorry, buddy. You are engaging in collective hysteria. 70% of Trump supporters thought he won. That's 30% thinking he lost. Like, how do you do that badly with your own base? I know. But the people in Ohio say the pets thing is real. No, they are. No, they're not, dude. No, they're not, okay?
Opinion, the most dishonest news organization, and that's saying a lot because they're all essentially really dishonest. But I thought I did a great job. It was 3-on-1, and I thought I did a great job. Now, we sent you the polls, but every single poll last night had me winning like 90-10. We had C-SPAN at one point was at 80-20, and I don't know how it finished. That was late last night, so I have no idea. But it was at 80-20. I told that to Brett Baer, and we sent him a lot of polls, and we sent you a lot of polls this morning. And every single poll had us winning by a lot, despite the fact that it was an unfair debate, obviously, and it was a 3-on-1. And that's okay. I've had worse odds in my life. I've had it before, but never so obvious. A lot of people are very angry about it. You know, you have corrupt news organizations. You have a lot of bad people. It's amazing in that business. In your business.
Yeah, Mr. President, we kind of expected it because when you look at Media Research Center, they said 100% of the stories covered on ABC about Kamala, 100% of the time was positive. 93% of the time when they covered you, it was negative. So it was infuriating to watch them fact check you and not her when she brought up IVF, when she brought up Project 2025 several times, and when she brought up Charlottesville. Here are some of the lies that she said about you. Listen.
A detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing. Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. If Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking.
And the bloodbath, you were talking about the economy. It's a term that's used.
That's it. That is the only one that was massaging the truth. Okay. He did use the term bloodbath, but he wasn't talking about like actual violence, even though there are plenty of instances where he has talked about real, actual political violence.
A lot when people are talking about a bad economy. What's your reaction?
By the way, going back to the bloodbath take, in comparison to the actual severity of the lies that Donald Trump told versus that one instance that requires the moderators to fact check Kamala Harris, it's not even on the same level. Like it would be ABC overcorrecting in an effort to present themselves as like truly biased or truly unbiased. That was the expectation. Okay. The idea that like if they fact check they're on that front and like making it seem like that, using Donald Trump's words against them in an unfair representation is nowhere near at the same level of just like straight up lying about an entire group of migrants eating cats. Okay. Like that is crazy.
Why didn't the moderators correct her?
Because they're dishonest and because I think ABC took a big hit last night. I mean, to be honest, they're a news organization. They have to be licensed to do it. They ought to take away their license for the way they did that. Bloodbath was referring to the economy. Everybody loved the term because as soon as they heard the word, it's a sort of a vicious word. But referring to the economy, they have created an economy. Bloodbath was the word that I used. And it was fine in that context. And they were trying to make it sound like there was a riot or something, and it was a bloodbath. IVF, I was a leader on IVF, the IVF, which is fertilization. I was a total leader on that. When I first heard about it, like right from the beginning, I was one of the leaders on it. and the Republican Party has been a leader on it. She tried to say it was just the opposite.
When he first heard about IVF, like this isn't this isn't like a new thing, man. Oh, when I invented IVF actually.
The whole thing with abortion, what he said, I mean, it was incredible. I think he corrected me 6 times. And each time
Mr.
I was
President?
right. I believe each time I was right, didn't correct her at all. And she was saying these things. She was using like Charlottesville. She was using Charlottesville, and everybody, you take a look at Laura Ingraham. She did it incredibly. She had it totally debunked. She said that, in fact, it makes it angry. She gets angry when people hear about Charlottesville when they use that. Because what they did is they stopped and they didn't put the following sentence in. And when they put the last sentence in, when it was all put together, what I said was absolutely perfect. And ABC knew that. Everybody knew that, frankly. I think they lost a lot of credibility. But regardless, look, the polls are saying that I won that by 80-20, 90. We have one here, 92-7, and I sort of believe that's right. I thought, look, I've been told I'm a good debater. I think it was one of my better debates, maybe my best debate. I think. I don't know. That's why I'm disappointed in this guy, Harold.
It's crazy to me that he's still. Why are they saying Charlottesville was a lie? He's trying to claim that he was simply talking about the peaceful protesters on both sides. But the issue is the peaceful protesters and the not peaceful protesters on one side were literal Nazis on the streets of Charlottesville. So obviously, when you look at the context of what he was talking about, it's still completely insane. You said that the Nazi protesters were very fine people, okay? You cannot look at a Klan rally or a neo-Nazi rally and be like, well, there's some cool people there. You can't do that. And then expect people not to go, that's insane.
You putting what you're calling the alt-left and white supremacists on the same moral plane.
I'm not putting anybody on a moral plane. What I'm saying is this. You had a group on one side and you had a group on the other, and they came at each other with clubs, and it was vicious, and it was horrible, and it was a horrible thing to watch. But there is another side. There was a group on this side, you can call them the left, or you've just called them the left, that came violently attacking the other group. So you can say what you want, but that's the way it is.
On both sides, sir? You said there was hatred, there was violence on both sides.
Well, I do think there's blame. Yes, I think there's blame on both sides. You look at both sides. I think there's blame on both sides, and I have no doubt about it, and you don't have any doubt about it either. And if you reported it accurately, you would say.
Neo-Nazis started this. They showed up in Charlottesville to protest.
Excuse me, they didn't put themselves down as neo, and you had some very bad people in that group.
Excuse me, they didn't put themselves down as neo-Nazis. It's even worse. It's even fucking worse. He's like defending the neo-Nazis, be like, no, they're not, excuse me, they're not neo-Nazis. But
You also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group, excuse me, I saw the same pictures as you did. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name.
The context of it makes it worse because it starts off with him defending the neo-Nazis and saying that the real people that started shit were the anti-Nazis. Many of you probably forgot how it worked because back then, there was this genuine sentiment. Were you streaming at this point? Yes. There was this genuine sentiment. Oh, I wasn't streaming back then, but I was covering this at the Young Turks. Okay. How was the context of what Trump said worse? Explain the very specific facts, and we can't read the comments because they are going too fast. How does the context of the speech make the facts worse? Use specific facts. Charlottesville was a Unite the Right rally created by open neo-Nazis, okay? Like actual neo-Nazis. They were protesting the removal of a Confederate general's statue, okay? A Confederate general who fought to preserve slavery. Slavery is, chattel slavery especially, but slavery across the board, is morally repugnant. Unite the Right in Charlottesville was a rally put together by neo-Nazi groups, okay? these groups were also openly demonstrating with tiki torches and polo t-shirts and khakis, where they were on camera saying, "Will not replace us, blood and soil," Nazi propaganda. Now, unless you yourself are directly a Nazi and embarrassed about this, you should probably look at this and go, yeah, that was really up. This is not my opinion. This is just the facts. It was a problem, but Trump said there was good people on both sides. There were no good people on the side of the neo-Nazis unless you are a neo-Nazi and you want to defend the neo-Nazis. Okay? That's the facts. If you say, can you give me the facts and not your opinion? Okay? That is the facts. I am a firm and committed anti-fascist. I do not believe in fascism. I think it's morally repugnant. I think Nazis are losers. They're bad people. They are not very fine. And anyone that looks at a neo-Nazi rally and says, well, there are very fine people on both sides, is also a Nazi, okay, and can suck. Now, luckily for us, every single normal person recognizes this, okay, and have moved on. You, on the other hand, are trying to still relitigate this issue.
Well, no, George Washington was a slave owner. Was George Washington a slave owner? So will George Washington now lose his status? Are we going to take down, are we going to take down statues to George Washington? How about Thomas Jefferson? What do you think of Thomas Jefferson? You like him? Okay, good. Are we going to take down the statue? Because he was a major slave owner. Now, we're going to take down his statue. So you know what? It's fine. You're changing history, you're changing culture, and you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them.
No, there wasn't. There you go. This is not a defense. This is not the defense that Donald Trump thinks he's launching. If you think this is the reason why there are very fine people on both sides argument was a mistake for, or fake news in the eyes of the broader population, you're wrong. If you go to a Nazi march and you march next to Nazis, you are a Nazi. You are no longer a very fine person.
Harold Ford, I don't know if he's still there, but I don't know what he was watching because he was just as dishonest as ABC, in my opinion.
Mr. President, I interrupted a moment ago. They just on the face of the Pentagon, every year for the last 23 years, we have gone down to the Pentagon at 6:46. That's sunrise down in the Washington, D.C. area. When they unfurl that flag to commemorate American Airlines Flight 77 that crashed into the Pentagon. It killed all 64 on board, 125 people at the Pentagon, 184 people lost their lives 23 years ago today. And I know you are going to take part in some of the commemorations as well here in New York City and in Pennsylvania.
That's right. I'll be doing that in a little while. In fact, right after this call, I leave. I'm going down to the World Trade Center site, and I'll be down there for much of it. JD's going with me, and we had a great talk about it yesterday. It was very, very sad, horrible day. There's never been anything like it. Just a horrible day. And then going to Pennsylvania, of course, and so I'm going to be doing both of them. Sometimes I'll do all three. Sometimes it doesn't work out when they're sort of simultaneously done, but we're going to be doing two of them today.
So last night, all three planes are there. You got Air Force 2, you got Trump Force 1, J.D. Vance's plane. We're all together. You guys are going to be at the site together. President Biden, I think, will be there. Are you going to say anything to them?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure. It's,
Trump literally is Mr. Silver Lining. For those of you who don't know, he straight up, he's lied a lot about 9/11. He openly repeated the lie that Muslims were dancing on the rooftops.
Look, everybody should be very angry at how badly they've run this country. Millions of people are floating into our country. Many of them should not be here. They're criminals, many criminals coming in, many terrorists coming in, people coming. They're emptying their jails into our country. They're emptying, think of it, they're emptying their mental institutions. People that are mentally ill are being dropped into our country. And these two people, and it's both of them, they allow it to happen. What they're doing is terrible. I saw your report yesterday in Ohio. with Springfield, Ohio, and Aurora. If you look at Colorado, Colorado, these thugs from Venezuela and Aurora have taken over. People from Haiti, I guess, have come in illegally, totally come in illegally into our country, and
Do you think you made that point last night?
Ohio.
Do you think you made that? Do you think you made that point last night that you believe the border is directly affecting all these cities and all these towns?
Oh, I think I made it twice or maybe even 3 times. In fact, I said, I wonder if I'm saying this is too much. How can you say it too much? They've allowed 21 million, I think is the real number. It could be more than that. 21, that's bigger than New York State. They've allowed 21 million people to come into our country. Many of these people are criminals. Right. And by the way, those countries are being emptied out of their criminals, and their crime rates are way down. Their prison populations are being dumped into the United States. Their populations in prison are way down. Their mental institutions, their populations are way down. And it's all over the world. It's not just South America. They're coming in from the Congo and Africa. They're coming from all over the world, the Middle East, Europe, Asia. They're coming in from everywhere, not just South America. And they're coming in at numbers you've never seen. They're literally destroying our country. These people have no idea, or maybe they do. The only reason they can be doing it is because they hate our country. They hate our country.
Yeah, I mean, when you compare the border numbers, the terror watch list suspects under you, there were 11. Under Kamala Harris, 375. Now, foreign policy did come up at last night's debate. Listen to this soundbite, or our audience can listen to this, and we'll get your reaction on the other side.
If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. This would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done before even becoming president.
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals.
Dude, anytime I hear a Republican talk about Democrats, I'm like, I wish. Bro really said Kamala Harris is a Marxist who wants to defeat Israel. Okay, like I can't even imagine, and wants to give everybody health care. Kamala Harris wants to give everybody government assigned health care, is a Marxist, a radical Marxist, and wants to defeat Israel. It just makes me more mad. I'm like, damn, dude, I'd be so sick. Nevertheless, the Israel proportion of the debate was a riding Olympics where each candidate tried to outflank one another on who is going to ride it harder. Okay. Yeah, there's a good someone in the chat made a good point. If she's a Marxist but also copying Trump's positions, does that mean Trump is a Marxist? Well, if you ask MAGA communists, then yes. Trump is the only real Marxist in America, actually. Everyone else is phony. Dude, I talk to normies all the time, and let me tell you something, okay? Normies are genuinely oblivious that there's even any kind of like pro-Gaza sentiment happening. Because a lot of normies are just like invested in the media narratives, and that's it. They just like don't pay attention to any of the polls that I talk about. So when I talk to normies, they're like shocked. Talking to someone about how like there are at least like a couple 100,000 voters, and that this stuff is like Kamala Harris's sentiment on Gaza and not separating herself from Biden is legitimately harmful to her chances of winning Michigan. They were shocked. They're like, what? Really? Like, they have no idea. And that's partially because the media does not cover this at all. It's going to be a real Hillary, Wisconsin repeat come November, you know? It's going to be a real repeat of that where they're like, wait, what? I thought we were doing well. What the happened? Polls keep coming out. Polls keep coming out over and over again in key swing states. The U.S. is too involved in foreign wars and world affairs. Most worry about World War III approaching. That's why Trump keeps repeating that line. That's why not a single covered the pro-Palestinian demonstrations that were happening outside in the streets of Philadelphia during the debate and before the debate. There's an almost complete blackout of this convo. Very interesting.
Deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal.
It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, we were getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind. They blew it.
You said when you were at the town hall with Sean Hannity, you said a lot of people, you might not like me, but you're safer under me. You have more money in your bank accounts under me. So why do you think our country would be safer under you, Mr. President?
Because I deal with foreign policy. I'll give you an example. Afghanistan, we had a great agreement, but it was agreement subject to them doing a lot of different things. They didn't do those things. And when they didn't do them, we terminate the agreement. These clowns had no idea what to do. They had Milley, who's incompetent. They had Biden, who's incompetent. All of the people are incompetent. Nobody ever gets fired. They don't fire anybody. They let them just stay on, retire, no problem. Milley should have been fired and reprimanded like you've never seen. These people are incompetent. They left billions of dollars worth of equipment behind, yet 13 dead soldiers. They shouldn't have used that airport. They should have used Bagram, which, by the way, they gave up, and they shouldn't have given it up because that's only 1 hour away from China where they make their nuclear weapons. No, they took a good agreement, but the agreement was subject to the Taliban doing things. And remember this, just ending that, I went 18 months without one soldier killed. I spoke to the head of the Taliban, Abdul, and I said I had a nice, tough talk with him. Not one soldier was killed in 18 months until that catastrophe happened. It was absolutely, we were running it perfectly. But the agreement didn't mean anything because they had to, in other words, to have the agreement kick in.
It was conditions-based.
They didn't do the things. Who would take the military out first? They're incompetent. They took the military out first. You're supposed to take the military out last. And they left lots of Americans behind. And then they had the worst airlift nobody's ever seen. People falling off an airplane from 3,000 feet in the air. Many people. They are incompetent, and they shouldn't be running the country, and we'll end up in World War III because of these fools.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to Lawrence Jones, who we know you think is doing a great job, and he is. There he is. He's live in a diner. He's also in Pennsylvania. He's in Washington, Pennsylvania. And he's talking to the people. And I think, Lawrence, right, some of the folks in the diner want to ask the president questions.
That's exactly right, Angela. Let's bring it out to the people. Mr. President, not a lot from the moderators about the issues last night, but in this swing state of Pennsylvania, these issues are true. Sir, you own a car dealership, part owner of it, and you say, this is your birthday, by the way.
It is.
And what is your question for the president?
Good morning, President Trump. My question is, what are some of the immediate steps that you will take to improve the economy and get us out of this mess that Biden and Harris have left us in?
Right. Great question. The first thing I do is close up the border. People have to come into our country legally. They can't come in the way they're doing now. We have millions and millions of people coming.
They can't hear him, by the way. I don't think they can hear him.
Coming in even on a monthly basis, and they're destroying our country, and it affects our economy. The other thing I do is drill, baby, drill. I'd be drilling, and I'd get energy prices, and I'll reduce your energy by half within 12 months. Half. And I hope that Lawrence, if you're listening, Lawrence, I hope you go and do a little shout-out poll. And I don't know the people there, but I love the people there. I can see it. But why don't you do a shout-out poll who they thought won the debate last night? It would be great.
You know, we always do the poll at the end, Mr. President.
Yeah, I wonder who these people thought won the debate last night. Probably 50-50, you know?
I think you.
Why don't you do it while I'm on the phone? I'm on the phone now.
Okay. So, but Mr. President, this young lady right here, she's concerned about the future of the country. She's concerned about the grandkids, and she's concerned about the stress on these parents. Ma'am, what is your question for the former president?
I would like to know what kind of programs or policies he could implement to reduce the parental stress with parents having to work 1, 2. I have family members who are working 3 jobs trying to make ends meet right now.
Yeah.
Spending more and more.
Oh, super easy. I'm going to kill Venezuelans. What? That's right. They're eating the cats, the Venezuelans and the Haitians. They're eating the cats, and then they're going to eat your children.
More time away from their families.
That's right. Well, we have big,
What are you going to do on day one, Mr. President?
Right. Child care is a #1 priority, and I have no choice because I have a daughter named Ivanka, and maybe you never heard of my Ivanka, but I have a daughter named Ivanka, and that's all she talks to me about is child care for the people, and she's the one that got it started, and Marco Rubio helped a lot, and a lot of the Republican senators, and we put in a great child care, and we'll be expanding that, and that will help you a lot.
So, Mr. President, we got a young voter right here. Not.
Oh, so nothing. Okay, got it. That's cool. So no policies. Dude, come on, man. You're running for president. Be serious, dude. Be for real, dog. You don't have like he doesn't even give enough to like actually come out with any policies, dude. It's pissing me off. Man, I hate this country so much sometimes. This is one of those moments where I despise my fellow American citizens, where they're just like don't demand more from their elected representatives. I despise the Republicans that are just like, yeah, I don't even care. The policies they don't need to exist. I just like Trump on the vibes alone. And the same goes for Democrats who just like do not have any expectation from Kamala Harris whatsoever. They just don't want Trump. So they're like, nope, no matter what they say or do, it's good. Like the fundamental basis for theoretical democracy relies on extracting concessions from your elected representatives. We might as well not call it a democracy at that point. If you're not going to make any demands, and if you're just going to be like, yeah, no demands. All right, well, still voting though. Don't really care.
All the young people are voting for Kamala Harris, but you have a concern about the media and cutting through the noise there. What is your question for the former president?
Hello, President Trump. I'm just curious on how you're going to combat all the fake news and break through some of the noise to get the undecided voters to vote for you this November.
Well, by doing a show like this,
what are you going to do?
It's a great question, because you really do it by doing a show like this with Lawrence and the group. You have to get your word out, and you don't have a fair media. You have
the undecided voters watching Fox News at 7 a.m. Eastern time. Those are the undecideds.
Very liberal biased media. I have no idea why. I actually have no idea. Think of it. They don't want walls. They don't want borders. They don't want good economies. The things they want are destructive to our country. But I will tell you that it's very important, if you're doing what I'm doing, you have to do shows like this. That's another thing. Kamala doesn't do any shows. She doesn't do interviews. She doesn't talk to people. She doesn't do anything like that.
I like that. Like Trump is like, yeah, you got to do shows like this by going on Fox News. Like, come on, dog. What do you mean? Like, you're going on Fox News. You've been interviewed by Elon Musk, and like the most contentious conversation you had was with Theo Vaughn. Why is Kamala not going on Theo Vaughn?
And that's not fair to the public, because they don't know what they're getting. But they saw last night what they had. They had a rigged show with somebody that maybe even had the answers. I mean, I'll be honest. I watched her talk, and I said, she seems awfully familiar with the questions, and you get pretty good at that stuff after a while. But when I saw how totally rigged that was, I take a look at it, and I watch, and I say, you have to get out there. And one of the things I did is I said, let's do this show at, like, what time is it, 6:30 in the morning. And it's an honor to do it. But you have to go out and you have to do the shows. You have to go out and do media. And some of the media is honest. It's not all dishonest. That's the good news. But much of it is. I'd say it close to 80%. And I mean seriously dishonest.
So, Mr. President, the final question. We're in Pennsylvania. We cannot let this interview end without talking about fracking. And there's a lot of people.
There's something really funny about Donald Trump refusing to prepare, flexing that he's not preparing, and then being mad that Kamala Harris was prepared. Like, dude, obviously the interview questions were the expected questions. Like, they're not going to ask you about, I don't know, what your favorite seasoning is to put on chicken. Okay. That's like, they're not going to ask you unexpected questions. They're going to ask you about, like, they're going to ask Kamala Harris, like, what do you think needs to be changed about the economy after the past 4 years? Do you think that America is better off now than they were 4 years ago? Like, what do you think is going to happen? Like, that's a normal question that you should predict is coming for you, and then, figure out the best way to message around that. For Kamala Harris, a really solid way to message around these tricky questions was to oftentimes just dagger Trump, give like a little bit of an answer, then hit a light jab in Trump's direction, and then have Trump flounder like a goddamn fish out of water for 30 seconds to 60 seconds.
Concerned about what happened on the debate stage last night, and that Kamala Harris' position wasn't fully prosecuted yesterday. The people know that she flip-flopped on the issue. So
Right.
how are you going to make the case so you can win Pennsylvania?
So I'm leading in Pennsylvania in just about all the polls, and I'm leading by some in a lot. And one of the issues is fracking. I've been from fracking it's like the day I was born, always fracking. She's always been against it, and she's been against it strongly. And if she won, she would end fracking in Pennsylvania 100%. She would end it, and that would be it. All she's doing is she just changed her view just a very short time ago. She went, oh, I'm totally in favor of fracking all of a sudden. She is totally against, and you have every clip, and Sean Hannity plays them every night. Every clip, she's against fracking. All of a sudden, she's losing in the polls. She's not doing down. Her president is doing horribly. How did he do in the debate? At least she could speak. But her president goes down. They did a palace coup in the president. She comes out and she does fracking. So I say to the people of Pennsylvania, you know what you have with Trump, and I'm with you. I went to school in Pennsylvania. I have my friends in Pennsylvania, and I'm a fracker. And that's 500,000 jobs in Pennsylvania and a lot of your income. Pennsylvania would be devastated if they take that away. She will
There is not 500,000 jobs in Pennsylvania for fracking. What is he saying, bro? That is, god damn. Bro, this guy, bro, that's like nationally there's 500 jobs in fracking. Okay. Despite what fracking execs want you to believe, the industry has little impact on state job numbers. In 2023, it accounted for 19,452 direct and indirect jobs. Pennsylvania's natural gas sector supports 123. Dog, this is United Shale Advocates. You just sent me a PR. You just sent me, like, this is literally worse than just having like British Petroleum's own website share this data. The total number of people employed by the hydraulic fracturing services industry in the U.S. as of 2023 is 61,000. The number in Pennsylvania for direct and indirect jobs that pertain to fracking is what is it, like 20,000? What's really crazy about it is that even this Shale Insight, Marcellus Shale Coalition, a part of the United Shale Advocates organization, a think tank, even they're not saying 500,000. Even they're saying 120,000, which is a lie.
Obviously take that away. Oh, she'll take away drilling in Texas. She's going to take away. They ended ANWR, the biggest oil site in the world that Ronald Reagan couldn't get in Alaska. They ended it. I got it approved, and they ended it. And nobody can.
Why don't you fact check Harris? I have. I also promise you, I hate Kamala Harris more than you. Okay? I promise you. You're stupid. Your hatred for Kamala Harris pertains to her not being Donald Trump, and it's scary for you. This, like, person that you think is like a Marxist, okay? I promise you. You are afraid because you think, oh, the Democratic Party is scary. They're gonna, like, make me gay or whatever you think in your mind. To be fair, they're probably racist, so they hate her more. Maybe. Most likely.
Can believe they did. We had the biggest site in the world. They ended it in the first week in office. Think of that. Yeah. They cut the Keystone Pipeline. They will end fracking. Keystone Pipeline, one of the biggest pipelines in the world, they ended it in the first day or the first week that he was in office. They will end fracking because she's not a fracker, and they'll also take away your guns. They will confiscate your guns.
Mr. President, thank you so much for talking to the folks here in Pennsylvania at the diner. I'll send it back to the couch because I know you have a prior commitment to go visit the heroes at 9/11 Memorial.
Well, I want you to take that poll, though.
I feel good. All right, joining us now, he's on the set in the spin room himself. Did you have fun?
How do you even fact check the idea that Trump is going to enact Project 2025? Dude, if you think that that is a false statement from Kamala Harris, you're delusional. Okay. The Heritage Foundation runs the Republican Party's agenda. Okay. That's it. If you do not recognize that, you're a delusional little idiot.
A good time. I think it was our best debate ever. I thought it was really good. We had 3 against 1.
Let's watch Stephen Miller. Trump's copium is ridiculous.
All these criminal migrants that have been flooded in the country are going to be the first to get thrown out of here. I mean, you've seen.
God, he's so gross, monstrous piece.
Case these heartbreaking tragedies. Those ones are going to get found and deported first. And look at this Venezuelan gang. You have a Venezuelan gang that is taking over entire apartment buildings in Aurora, Colorado, and that's responsible, by the way, for some of the most heinous crimes that have happened all over the United States. The crime rate in Venezuela is down, I believe, a little bit over 60% over the last several years.
Are you trusting the official figures from the Venezuelan dictatorship?
Let's put it this way. If you're a dictator of a poor country with a high crime rate, wouldn't you send your criminals to our open border?
That wasn't my question.
Yeah, that's not the.
Are you trusting the figures?
Bro, he's verbatim saying not. Yes, Stephen Miller, from Palisades High School, of Jewish background, is an out and about Nazi. Okay, he has talked about what was it? Turner Diaries is a big point of reference for his political ideology. He is literally a Jewish Nazi. Okay, yes, straight up. He is an out and about white supremacist Nazi piece. He also wrote most of Donald Trump's white nativist immigration policies. A Zionist, I mean, he probably, dude, honestly, Stephen Miller might be the one unique, like, anti-Israel Nazi. I don't know what his opinion is on Israel. I think he might hate Jews so much that he, like, hates Israel, low-key. Probably not, though. He probably is a Zionist, let's be real. But, like, he is straight up, I'm not even talking about, like, I'm talking straight up, he is Jewish of background, okay? And he absolutely 100% is a straight up Nazi. I'm not using it as a synonym for fascist. I'm saying he is literally Jewish Nicholas Fuentes, okay? That's what I'm saying. Like, what do you mean? Bro, he wants a white ethno state. He was classified as a white nationalist by congressional leaders. The Congressional Hispanic Caucus condemned white nationalist Stephen Miller, calls for immediate removal from role as White House senior advisor. He is straight up a white supremacist. I actually don't know. I wonder if he's also anti-Semitic, because he likes Camp of the Saints, which I believe is definitely anti-Semitic. Like, all of his idols are straight up anti-Semitic. Okay, I actually don't know. I don't know if he's like, I don't know if he personally is like, I don't know what extent of how anti-Semitic he is. He is Jewish, yes, I know. He probably is pro-Israel, though. Most people in the administration are, including some of the biggest anti-Semites. Like, I don't know if he's like a Jews-controlled media type anti-Semite, though, regardless of his Jewish heritage, Jewish background. Demonizing a Jewish staffer, Stephen Miller responds to white supremacist accusations. There's a deep vein of anti-Semitism that is running through today's Democratic Party. The White House senior advisor says in response to calls for his removal.
Of the dictatorships, those are Maduro numbers.
I am believing that it is in the interest of a criminal dictator to let his criminals out of their jails and come to our country.
Do you have numbers, real numbers, not dictatorship numbers?
The Venezuelan gangs that have, you've seen the CCTV footage. I have a question. Who do you think? Answer me this.
My family is from Venezuela. I know very well the situation of Caracas and many other cities.
Right, tell me, who were the people with the high-powered rifles in the hallway of that apartment building? Who were they?
They were gangsters from Venezuela.
Right. No American community.
But I was asking to you about figures, numbers,
what I'm
facts.
saying to you is the facts are the dead bodies. The facts are...
You said that Caracas has a lowest crime rate than the USA.
The facts are the mutilated bodies. The facts are the people in the morgues that are dead.
I was asking you about Caracas and the numbers in...
What are you saying, dog? Bro, remember what they said about COVID? Where they were like, everyone's actually dying of other reasons, and then it's being attributed to COVID falsely, which obviously wasn't the case. Now they're doing that fake that they launched against COVID when it was real against like Venezuelan migrants. Anytime somebody dies, it's a Venezuelan that killed them, actually. Oh, car crash? Migrant death. Migrant killed him. I mean, they literally did that with the Haitian dude who was a bus driver. They literally did that. It's crazy.
In Caracas, are you trusting the numbers of the dictatorship?
I am trusting the fact that Kamala Harris is letting illegal immigrants into this country who are and murdering children.
I had been very respectful. Why are you yelling?
Do you know who John...
Yeah, I think we know why he's yelling, dog. You got a thick accent. You're a little too dark for his taste. He doesn't like being talked down to by a dude, okay? I mean, I think he knows why he's yelling. God, he's such a piece of shit.
Jocelyn Nungary is? Do you know who she is?
Do you know how
Tell me
many
who she
people
Who is she?
experiencing
Who is
violence
she?
in Caracas?
Who is she? Who is Laken Riley?
Why are
Who
you
is
yelling
she?
again?
Because I'm yelling because children are being and murdered.
I was just
by
asking for
illegal
figures,
immigrants.
and you have not replied to me.
And murdered. Do you know who Kayla
Do
Hamilton
you trust
is?
the numbers of
Do you know
Nicolas
her story?
Maduro? I'm asking
I
again.
trust a Ruth.
If he keeps this going, he's going to run out of names because there's only 26 names he can point to. 26 total. If you ask these guys, Donald Trump very clearly says hundreds of thousands of Americans are being murdered every week by migrants. Hundreds of thousands. The real number is 24 in this past year. 24. Or 26, sorry.
Ruthless dictator will empty his prisons and send their criminals to our country.
So you trust his numbers?
The most dangerous gang in Venezuela is
You
now
trust
occupying
Nicolas
apartment
Maduro?
buildings. I trust that he does not want his criminals to be.
So you believe in his numbers?
I believe he's sending his criminals to our country.
And do you think that the crime rate in Venezuela have decreased?
Do you not believe the law enforcement reports of Venezuelan gangs in this country?
I was asking for the Venezuelan government figures, not the figures here.
Or not? Are Venezuelan gangs in this country or not? Yes or no?
What
Yes or
are
no?
the figures
Yes or no?
that you
Yes
say
or no?
to say
Yes
that
or no?
in Caracas
Yes or
the
no?
number is
Are
lower than in the
Venezuelan gangs-
USA?
Are Venezuelan gangs in this country or not?
So you don't have numbers.
Are Venezuela? You know who has numbers?
This is sick. I mean, this is awesome. Watching this sweaty, racist, white supremacist loser have a pathetic meltdown. Oh my God. Oh, delicious, dude. This is incredible. He's so close to saying slurs. Yes. Oh my God. I mean, you know, he said it after this interview, after the microphone was, after he moved away from the microphone, he was just saying all the slurs. Okay.
The Department of Homeland Security. You can ask Mayorkas for numbers. You can ask the Director Ray for the numbers.
Sir,
I'm telling you.
you said
think
that in
Nicolas
Venezuela
Maduro-
the crime rate is lower than the
Because-
USA.
Yes, because the
what are
criminals
your
are
numbers?
here
That's
now.
my question.
Because the criminals are here now.
Those are Maduro's numbers.
I can tell you again that Border Patrol agents are encountering thousands
trust
of gang
Maduro
members.
numbers?
I trust the border agents in our country.
But
and
they
I
are not
hope
saying
you
that
have the
Caracas has a
fundamental-
lower crime rate.
Children are dead, and you are wasting my time.
No, I am not wasting your
Children are being
time.
raped.
I'm asking
Do you
for
have
facts
any
as a
remorse for the-
journalist.
Do you have any remorse for the dead children? Do you care?
I like that he's literally saying like, you're looking real Venezuelan right now, the way that he's making it seem like this guy came to America to the children now. You know what I mean? He's literally trying to put the blame on him. I wonder why Stephen Miller, who's refusing to answer a pretty basic question, is now attributing the deaths of children that he's made up in his mind, by the way, okay, to this Hispanic reporter who just keeps asking him the same question over and over again.
They're all about the dead children.
Absolutely.
Then that's what I want to leave you with, is that Donald Trump will
was
come
just
to
asking for
office.
figures.
Here's what's going to happen. Donald Trump is going to be elected president, and the migrant gangs are going to be sent home. Children's lives will be saved. And you know who will benefit the most? Are the working class Hispanic community.
I always bring up the 26 homicide statistics to my right-wing coworker, and he deflects it by saying that the statistics are underreported and don't account for sanctuary cities. How do I respond to him? He's lying. What do you mean it doesn't account for sanctuary cities? Dog, if an undocumented migrant commits a murder, they go to jail, okay? There is no underreporting on murder. There is no secret conspiracy in the law enforcement community to hide the truth about murders, okay? This is not like a parking ticket. This is a murder. They already lie about the misdemeanor crimes of like theft to begin with, and they say like, oh, it's underreported. And then you look at the actual you actually look at the crime reports in general, specifically because these grocery stores are still going to report that a crime has taken place in an effort to also get money back on their insurance. They have to report it to the police. Okay. That's not how any of this works. There is no underreporting murder. When a person is murdered, cops don't go and look at that and go, let's put this down as a car crash. The sanctuary city first result for 4 reasons why we should worry about crime data from the Marshall Project. The FBI's crime data is still incomplete and politicians are taking advantage of it. 6,097 agencies submitted no 2022 data. This was back in 2023, by the way. As far as FBI crime data goes, there is no, they still have local numbers that they report on, And crime is down on local numbers as well. Overall, the notion that these guys are not reporting murders is ridiculous. And the data that we're pointing to is not even the FBI crime data. The data that we're reporting to is a compilation of local crime rates from local police departments. They release their numbers regardless. The number that we're getting in terms of the criminal non-citizen statistics is from actions that undocumented migrants have engaged in across the board. Okay? Sanctuary city simply means if you're an undocumented migrant talking to a police officer because a crime took place in your neighborhood, okay, you are not going to immediately be called, like the ICE is not going to immediately be called on you. That's it. Ironically enough, for those of you who don't know this, Sanctuary Cities actually was a police initiative. It was an initiative backed by the police. You want to know why it was an initiative backed by law enforcement? Because originally law enforcement was like, we have to instill trust in these communities because these people live here, okay? And they don't want to talk to cops, so we can't solve certain crimes when they happen in these marginalized communities because they think if we talk to them, we are automatically going to report it to ICE and they're going to get deported.
Communities that are besieged by gang violence.
So you don't have
public schools that are being overtaken by migrant gangs. You have MS-13.
I'm curious, do 20 homicides include only against U.S. citizens or both against undocumented and U.S. citizens? I'm willing to bet the overwhelming majority of those crimes are against undocumented citizens too. Not that it matters, but that's just how statistics work. The likelihood that if you're an undocumented migrant that you're going to kill another undocumented migrant is incredibly high. If you're black, the likelihood that you're going to kill another black person instead of a white person is incredibly high. Just like if you're white, the likelihood that you're going to kill another white person is incredibly high. That's just what it is, which is why black on black crime is actually a notoriously racist dog whistle, because the percentage of crime that black people commit against other black people is around 90%. But nobody ever talks about white on white crime, which is also around 90%. Turns out people do crimes to the people that are in their immediate vicinity. It's actually that simple.
That is brutalizing children. You have Kayla Hamilton, who was a 20-year-old autistic girl who was raped and murdered, beaten to death. That will end. That will stop. And our children...
Okay. My immigrant mom is anti-immigration. She doesn't speak English. What the fuck can I do? Good luck. Just know that you are not alone. Okay? There's plenty. Good luck, but also I guess be happy that like she's assimilated. She's American now.